Hello gainers, I'm Ralphie. Welcome to my channel called Fitter Philosophy. This is a Stoic based channel, but I'm taking the opportunity to introduce the books that I have written and published. And it's not something I've really commented on much in this channel before, but I'm really making the space to introduce them for you because they're an unexpected opportunity, and it's all down to the fact that we're at a moment in time where writers can self-publish, and all you really need is an audience who are waiting and prepared to buy your book. When you self-publish your book, your word processor is free. Your time, you don't put any value on. It's just quality time actually writing. So you don't put a financial value in that. You don't put a minimum wage or hourly rate. That's the way it goes. And you write your book. And once you've finally written your book, you have got 3 points of cost. One is your editor. Now, if you're fortunate, you can get someone who's good at English or good at a language, and they will edit your book for free in return for a day out, in return for a meal out, in return for a gift. If you've got someone like that, you're very lucky. But a word of warning, a good editor that costs you money is far more important to your book than a bad editor that you get for free. Editors are very important people. They proofread your book to make sure that it actually fits and aligns in terms of narrative. They check your grammar, they check your punctuation, they do a spell check. All these things. Because when you use a spell checker, an automatic spell checker, you may have a word which is correctly spelled, but the context is wrong. Let's take would, for example. I would like to go and visit. Now, if you put W-O-O-D, right, that's the correct spelling of the word. It's just slightly off context, and you need your editor to pick up on that, because spell check won't pick up on it. Whereas what you meant to say was W-O-U-L-D, would, which is basically the same pronounced word with a very different meaning. It's the same with that's, so that is, or that's. This happens frequently. This is why you need a good editor. You also need a good book formatter, someone who will take your docx files and actually put them into a single file for you, and then actually put the pages in the right order and put page numbers on them, so that you're just basically taking your A4 sized document and you're actually transposing it into a real book-sized shape, which is not A4. This is a style of book which I really like because it's a big paperback, but not too big to be unwieldy. Avoid square books. They are more difficult to read. You need a book which is narrow at the top and long on the spine, because it gives the book greater material structure. This is 6.14 by 9.12 inches. That's what it is. And this is ideal. It fits on bookshelves. It can be brought out, it can be easily posted, being paperback, it's lighter than hardback, and always remember, in the UK, in Britain, at the moment, because I've not got around to it yet, all books that are paperback or hardback are not subject to value added tax. which gives you a better margin for profit as a writer and publisher. If you have a Kindle or ebook, you then pay VAT, even though you have no material production costs. So keep that in mind. I print exclusively in physical paperback because that is what I want to do. End of. I have been asked for an audio book where I actually read the book out. If I had a lot more sales, then it would become worthwhile. But at the moment, it's not worth my while doing that at the moment. This is my third book. I've had 2 previous books that I've self-published that you can find for sale on Amazon. Search for Whisky Bothy, Stories from a Whisky Bar. And this is my third book, Life, Death and Whisky. And I'm going to talk about Life, Death and Whisky because this is an absolute real life narrative autobiographical account of my career in Glasgow from 1988 to 2010 as an undertaker working at the Cooperative Funeral Service, where the Cooperative Funeral Service at that time was conducting 70% roughly of the entire city's funerals. Arguably the single largest funeral operation in the whole of Europe. I talk in detail about situations I came across, from those that are absolutely tragic to those that are absolutely banal. I talk about meeting the very best of people and how they affected me, and meeting the very worst of people and how they affected me. And bear in mind, when it comes to a death, basically, I know there's a new word called passing on or moving on or whatever, and that's fine, but I call it death because I'm an undertaker and that's what it's about. I don't sugarcoat what I have had as a career. It's been a fascinating, very interesting career that frankly I've done to the best of my ability and I've got no regrets about. But if you had a recent bereavement, I wouldn't recommend this because it does go into detail. It also talks briefly about whisky. It talks a little bit about the psychology of human behaviour around the moment of loss and bereavement. I talk about the eccentric characters, the unforgettable moments. I mean, I think one of the tragedies for many people in working life is that their job is boring. Just boring and highly repetitive. My job was not. There's times the sheer drama, melodrama and theatre of what I was in the middle of literally beggars belief. I can assure you there are some situations I encountered which, for legal reasons and reasons of just decency and sensitivity, I have not included in this book and would not. But it was very cathartic. Cathartic meaning it took me right back to there and I relived the moment in intensity. And when I wrote this book, I had to go up to my loft and get a big cardboard box out with all my old flower brochures, estimate catalogues, and all the bits and pieces that I had as part of the job. And I could literally write another book about it, I could. But very, very important, in this book the names of a lot of people and locations have been changed. Very, very important. As a self-published writer, I have got to be very, very sensitive to the context in which I am writing. And therefore, I have made it quite clear all characters, locations and places in this book are fictitious, and there is no attempt intended to misrepresent any individual or organisation, known or unknown to the author. This is very important because the real life characters and real life events to cover myself from liability. All I had to do was change the names and change the locations. And there's no way they could prove in a court of law that I am talking about them or libeling them. When you're self-published, by the way, when you're doing their own work, you have to be very careful what you say and basically cover your arse in terms of legalities. This is important, and it's something I've always been aware of. I got very good advice from a lawyer on it, and I've listened to that advice. So this is the book. All three of these books are for sale on Amazon. All three books have got really good reviews. I've literally just finished writing my fourth book, which is a complete change in direction, and I'll be introducing that to you very, very shortly. And it's called Barbados, Island of the Yellow Bird. And it's a travel book. I went to Barbados in 2025, March 2025, to buy barrels of rum for my business and look about close relationship networking for Caribbean rum producers to see if I could put them in touch with independent bottlers to help them sell their rum across Europe. It simply didn't work out. As soon as I arrived, I realised my impression of and what I'd been told was the situation was not the situation. So I immediately put a big thick black line underneath it and say, right, I'll visit some of these distilleries, but I'm here now. I'm not just going to waste my time lying on a beach in the Caribbean sunning myself. I'm going to explore this island. So I hired a little Jeep, a little Suzuki Jimny, and for 10 days I explored Barbados. It's not a big island, it's a small island. It's only 20 miles long and 15 miles across. But it is an incredibly rich and textured landscape of changing community, steeped in the past and still heavily influenced by the past, but prepared and ready and organised for the future. I got an awful lot from the experience, knowing that even as I was travelling round, I was taking notes in a diary, in a journal, in detailed notes to transpose into a contemporary, modern, up-to-date travel book. And the reason's simple. I was looking for a travel book to read before I went to Barbados. And there's a lot of content online on the videos and in blogs. But with this book, I take it further. Because in traditional book format, I couldn't find much actually. They're conventional orthodox travel books. The Barbados Island of the Yellow Bird is not a traditional travel book. It's a very contemporary narrative travel book, and I look forward to introducing it to you. Thank you for watching.